Hello, everybody. Very, very good evening. Thank you so much for coming to Roots. After 2 years, we got a chance to do the event. And as far as founder stories is concerned, ideally we do this to get inspired from the journey of hardship, ambitions, and success, of people, right, who have been able to do things conventionally or unconventional things they've been able to do, right, and build purpose-driven businesses. One such person that is sitting beside me is definitely Pratham Mittal. Pratham, welcome, and
thank you so
for
much
taking
for
our time.
having me. This is a great occasion.
Yeah, you guys made this occasion great, right? It's a partner event. And also, to start with, I would like to congratulate you for the work that you're doing at Masters Union. Yeah, every time I come to your campus, it doesn't really feel like a management institution, rather an office where already kaam chal raha hai. There are a lot of training works happening. The basics of institutions we talk about, and CAC, and NRR, and ARR, and gross margins.
Yeah.
It's very, very inspiring. So, ये Philip Kotler या quantitative techniques, OB, ये पढ़ाते हो नहीं पढ़ाते हो?
कम पढ़ाते हैं वो. We want students to learn business by doing business. So that's why our campus is in a building where there are 21 other corporate companies. तो उन्हीं के लोग जो वहाँ काम करते हैं वो नीचे आके पढ़ाते हैं और हमारे बच्चे ऊपर जाके शैडो करते हैं, टर्न करते हैं. तो जैसे एक मेडिकल कॉलेज होता है, वो हमेशा मेडिकल हॉस्पिटल के साथ होता है. एंड द डॉक्टर्स कम एंड टीच. इट्स नॉट प्रोफेसर्स हु टीच, रियल डॉक्टर्स हु कम एंड टीच. एंड स्टूडेंट्स डू OPD फ्रॉम day zero. And that is the kind of education we are trying to bring to business and then eventually, hopefully, to engineering, etc.
All right, we'll come back to Masters Union, right? That's a baby. Your baby. It's not baby anymore. You've done a great job there. But let me just take you back to your roots.
Sure.
For the rest of everybody, Pratham Mittal is son to Mr. Ashok Mittal, Rashmi Mittal ma'am, who are the chancellor of lovely professional university, one of the largest in the country. But he didn't really take that route. He did, chart an independent journey and started Masters Union. How was your childhood, Pratham? Your parents are audacious academicians,
Yeah.
right? Educationists,
Yes.
right? And while at your teens, I'm sure the university was scaling up, so your parents must be very, very occupied there and working hard,
Correct.
right, to give it a shape, right? You must have got an opportunity to see that scale up close,
Yes.
right? क्या miss किया, क्या पाया उस time में?
Yeah, I was 11 years old when LPU was founded.
11 years.
11 years old. So between 11 and 19, LPU grew from 0 to some 30,000 students. And because मैं और मेरी बहन छोटे थे, तो हमें घर अकेले नहीं छोड़ सकते थे, तो हमें भी साथ ले जाते थे. So literally in front of my eyes, I've seen 1 building, 2 buildings, 10 buildings, 20 buildings, set up. And I've seen enormous growth. So obviously, big shoes to fill. But यही था childhood यार. मतलब I used to go sit in classes. I used to go, sit in chemistry labs. I used to see how dad is taking meetings. I used to see how, all the processes were being built. So I think I grew up as LPU was being built almost.
So entrepreneurship is a kida, is what we say. Not so your parents are obviously entrepreneurs, and then they are also contributing at large to the society. But where did you get that DNA from? Did you inherit it? देख के समझ आया कि यार कि मुझे भी ऐसा से कुछ करना है.
नहीं, हमारे घर में तो it's understood, मतलब कि business ही करना है, काम ही करना है. So before the university, my father used to work at a sweet shop. Our family started a sweet shop, Lovely Sweets. And so when I was very, very young, 3-4 years old, I remember sitting at the back of the counter and counting cash, taking credit card payments, all of that. So I think from birth only in a Marwadi household, in a Baniya household like ours, it is understood कि करना तो मतलब धंधा ही है. So I think that was understood. That's part of the DNA. And then after college, since then I've always been in business only.
Pratham, you come across as a super energetic and a very, very bold person, right? And that's a compliment. Everybody's, I think, going to acknowledge the same. Whosoever knows you has a common observation about this, right? Were you like this since your childhood, or did that change or transition over the period of time?
No, I think as a child, as a kid, I was very, very shy. But my parents sent me to this school in Dehradun in the hills called the Doon School. And it's a boarding school, and there you have to build your mark for yourself, right? You're not your parents' kids anymore. You have to, make your presence felt. You have to make sure you build your space there almost. So when I went to Doon School, I think that's where all the professors, all my seniors, I think they really brought out the best in me. I used to play sports, and I remember I was very underconfident because everyone else was from Delhi, Bombay, and I was from Jalandhar. So, it was really, I had an inferiority complex. But dhire dhire, as I found my niche in swimming, I found my niche in hockey. So these two sports really gave me a lot of confidence and sort of, I think, pushed me out of my bubble. And, then one thing led to another.
All right. And since when till when you were at the Doon School?
I joined Doon School in class 6, and then I was there till class 12.
All right. And what was the journey afterwards?
After that, I got very lucky in 2009 to get admitted to University of Pennsylvania, which is an Ivy League school in Philadelphia, yes. So, from Doon School to UPenn, the thing was that at UPenn, there are all toppers from all over the world, right? And I used to think that, I am some hotshot Doon School student, but as soon as I reached UPenn, I realized I'm nobody. So I'll give you one small example. What used to happen was, I'm a swimmer. Right, so in India, I still hold the under 19 50-meter backstroke record.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So when I went to Penn and I wanted to try out for the swimming team there, I tried and I told my coach, I hold this Indian national record, ye, wo, matlab full. And then the coach is like, acha, karke dikha. So just to share, जो India का national record है, that is worse than even UPenn का university record. So at that time, I realized that, I have a long way to go to build myself. And then again, I started from the bottom at Penn, and then again, one thing led to another.
That brings me to a very important and serious question. See, what these universities or maybe countries at large are doing different than what we are not doing here. I have some of my friends outside, right? And, a lot of them who studied outside came back. And as far as I know, the curriculum, even the books that are prescribed to them are more or less the same.
Everything is the same.
What is different then? Is the pedagogy different, right? Or the mindset is largely different? The build of the infrastructure or the universities are different? What was your experience? Because you've lived it up close, you've seen
Correct.
that at LPU also.
So you're right. The curriculum, the professors, the teaching is the same. Whether it's LPU, whether it's IIT, whether it's Wharton, whether it's Harvard. I think 95% is the same. Maybe 5% some professors are better in the US, maybe, right? But what is different and unique and better about, I think, American education system is that the community is very, very diverse. In your classroom, you will have maybe 100 different countries represented. Your roommate would probably be a Chinese. Your group project partner would probably be someone from Bahamas or Trinidad and Tobago, right? So when you interact with people from very different backgrounds, I think that really forces you to think out of the box. That really forces you to be uncomfortable in situations. That really forces you to think of what conversation should you have. So I think because of this diverse community, you build a lot of confidence, you build a lot of perspective, and you start to appreciate opposing viewpoints. I think one thing in Indian communities or Indian colleges, I feel that because of अपने जैसे लोगों से ही मिलते हो, you fall in this trap of being in an echo chamber. Whatever I believe is what people believe around me. I'm never exposed to opposing beliefs. And that does not open my mind. वो ताला खुलता नहीं है दिमाग का. So I think अमेरिका में आपका दिमाग का ताला वो खोल देते हैं.
Is that the same for rest of everybody also? There must be a lot of students other than yourself, your friends. Did they also feel the same? And also, in this question, there are a lot of universities in the country also, in our country in India, who talk about cultural diversity, who talk about inclusion, right? Still, the outcome isn't as great as the universities in the West or UK.
It's just started in India. I think the first private universities in India came only in 2005-06, LPU, Amity, etc. Right? So we've only had 15 years. And 15 years is not enough to show results and to prove yourself, right? And America has had it for maybe 60, 70 years. Indians have been going to America for education for how long? But in India, we still have only regional diversity. Or maybe in some universities, you have national diversity. But international diversity has still not come in India. So if you have, anyone in the audience has kids, and they're thinking about, whether to send them abroad or not, I think the one reason you should send them abroad, and that is not to spoil the businesses of the universities in India, is for the international exposure and diversity. So that we are still missing in India. I think that will still 10, 15 years away before India starts inviting and becoming attractive for international students. That's only happened maybe for SAARC countries and some African countries.
All right, great. Now going back to UPenn, right? While in UPenn, I think you had a venture. Masters Union is not your
Yeah.
first venture,
Yeah.
right? So you started something there as well,
Yeah.
right? So let us know about your experience of starting that company. What was the company?
Yeah.
You know, how did that idea came? Right? What do you do after that? And is it still operational?
Yeah,
or
yeah.
operational?
So we were talking about diversity in American colleges, right? So in a group project, I was paired up with a Lebanese friend, right? His name was Randy. So we were paired and we had to do this group project together. And Lebanese people are very entrepreneurial because they've always faced war in their lives. So they're very entrepreneurial. They take risks. मतलब उन पे मिसाइल गिर रही है मतलब वो रिस्क तो उठा लेते तो कंपनी स्टार्ट करने का रिस्क तो बहुत छोटी बात है. So I met him in a project and then he said, ये project हम लोग कर रहे हैं, why don't we make this into a product, right? And so we made that into a product and that product became a company and then we ended up running that company for 10 years in the US. So that company, what it does is essentially, build backends for large publishers. So New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Playboy magazine, the backend is run by us. So हम लोग ये करते आ रहे थे, and we still run it. The company is operational. I moved back to India after 10 years. He moved back to Lebanon after 10 years, and now our team runs the company in the US. But now we are on to the next chapter in our lives.
Okay, a lot of my friends are now in US, अभी थोड़ा scenario खराब हो गया है. The government might ask them to move back, but otherwise they said that it is a better place. We're going to stay here, stick around, better opportunities. But you came back.
Yeah.
This part of having a company which is operational even today, being run by your team.
Yeah.
Was this the plan always, or did something change in between and you came back to India?
No, so to be honest, there was no plan. I mean, it's very hard to plan these things, but we talk about ease of doing business, right? We say that India mein ease of doing business is very hard, it's very bad, and America mein ease of doing business is very easy. I completely disagree. Having run businesses in both US and India, I think it's 100 times harder to run a business in the US. First of all, there is too much competition. Second, there is too much regulation. Third, there is too much compliance. Fourth, वहाँ पे लोग सुनते ही नहीं हैं आपकी. मतलब your team members will not listen to you. मेरे को याद है हमारा कुछ सॉफ्टवेयर था वो टूट गया सैटरडे रात को तो मैंने अपने इंजीनियर को फ़ोन किया एंड ही सेड सर अभी मैं डेट पे हूँ आई एम नॉट कमिंग एंड इंडिया में ऐसा होता
नहीं हो सकता
हो ही नहीं सकता
सुनना भी नहीं चाहता कोई बताना भी नहीं चाहता
सो दैट्स व्हाई आई डिसाइडेड कि यार यूएस में हो गया इंडिया हैज़ मच बेटर अपॉर्चुनिटी मच बेटर ग्रोथ अपॉर्चुनिटी मच बेटर possibility to build a very strong team. And I'll give you a very interesting statistic. Now things have changed. There are 17 people in my batch at Penn, Wharton. Out of 17, 16 are already back to India.
Oh, great.
Right. So now everyone just goes, studies there and comes back. Things have changed.
Fantastic, Pratham. Now, you had LPU already there, a university which is doing really good, one of the largest in the country, very recognized. You could have spent your energy, time in scaling that further up, maybe open multiple campuses. Usually what's the journey of a university, right? A good university in the country. You had an established company in the US. Outgrow was the name?
Yes, Outgrow.
Outgrow, and it is also doing, very good. Where did the idea of Masters Union, came in? Why did you, took that risk of starting a B school, right? Specifically in a very competitive landscape, right? What did you think? So that's the second part of the question. What did you think you'll be able to do different?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's very simple. Yeah. So when I moved back to India, I was speaking to my dad and I was asking him कि अब next काम क्या करूँ? So he said education में करो. I was like, okay, let's see, look at education. So the thing is, Dad had 15 years of experience building LPU, and I also had seen him build LPU. So matlab, if I had to choose an industry, then the only advantage I have is in education. So I thought, let's me do education. But the opportunity I saw was that in India, there is engineering and there is management education. Those are the 90% is just these two, right? And at the undergrad level and the postgrad level. Now let's talk about engineering. Engineering at the undergrad level, you have IITs, you have BITS, you have many, VITs. You have some great undergraduate engineering colleges, correct? You also have some great postgraduate engineering colleges, again IITs, etc., right? In management, you have some great postgraduate business schools. You have IIMs, etc. But in India, it's very interesting that there are no undergraduate business schools. After 12th, if you want to study business, you don't have too many options. or too many good options, right? Good options, matlab, options that are comparable to Wharton and MIT and Stanford. You just don't have it. For example, SRCC, etc. Those are commerce. And, to be honest, I really feel that they have not updated their curriculum, etc. So when, I saw this empty space in undergraduate business education. And that's why we decided to start Masters Union. So it was very obvious कि मतलब कुछ खाली market है तो उसको क्यों नहीं जाओगे उसके अंदर. So I think that was the reason.
और LPU का option नहीं दिया डैड ने?
नहीं, वो पापा ने बोला कि अपना करो. LPU तो मैं कर ही रहा हूँ. भाई इकट्ठे काम करेंगे तो लड़ेंगे एक दूसरे से.
लड़ेंगे? I don't think so. But anyway, see, there is also social stigma, right? That the seekers of education or different courses would prefer कि यार ये institution AICD approved है कि नहीं, UGC recognized है कि नहीं, ABCD recognized है, etc., right? Do you see that as a challenge, going forward, building up maybe by competing institutions, or maybe just a perception at large?
No, so I mean, just for everyone's knowledge, we decided not to go for AICTE and UGC accreditation. We decided to stay outside of the regulatory system, right? So ISB did this 20 years ago. So we are not the first ones to do it. And we did that because we wanted to experiment with new pedagogies, new forms of education, new classroom experiences, which under the UGC system we cannot do. And so that's why we decided to stay out of it, number one. Number two, the reality of the situation is that kids these days and their parents do not care about degree only. They care much more about skills. They care much more about placements. So if you can give them skills and placements, the tag of a degree becomes secondary. This is how the game is changing. We talk to students every day, and nobody ever asks us कि यार आपकी UGC recognized है कि नहीं है. They say कि आपका curriculum कैसा है. They say कि इसमें hands-on क्या है, इसमें experiential part क्या है. They ask कि placement कैसी है. No one says कि आपके पास ये ठप्पा है कि नहीं है. So things are changing very quickly.
Fantastic. So before I ask the last question, one question that I'd like to know from you: what were the learnings of UPenn that you are, trying to implement at Masters Union, and also would you mind sharing some of the stats that where we are in terms of numbers, in terms of revenue, or something?
Sure. Revenue तो नहीं करेंगे. So in terms of the first question, learnings from US, learnings from Wharton, learnings from UPenn, I think the one class that we had at Penn, which I really enjoyed, was this class on nutrition. Okay. And the class was basically talking about, US mein there is a concept called food stamps. So the people below poverty line are given food stamps, which they can only buy food and nothing else. So they used to get some food stamps. And so our class was basically talking about, are those food stamps enough for people to survive? And so our teacher actually made us live on food stamps for one semester.
Amazing.
Right? We actually lived the education. We actually were immersed in the education. Right? At the end of it, we realized कि यार food stamps से तो सिर्फ आप banana खरीद सकते हो और potatoes खरीद सकते हो. And we realized कि that is the problem with the American nutrition system. Yeah. Right? I will never forget that learning. And so I think how to make learning livable. How do you immerse yourself in the learning? I think that is something I learned with that class. And that's what we have tried to bring in Masters Union. So in Masters Union, all classes, there are no exams, no slides, no lectures, none of that. It's all experiential. Students run businesses, students consult with local dhabas, and that's how they learn. And their entire grades are dependent on the revenue that they earn and not how many marks they get.
And what about the numbers, where we are in terms of a class size, batch size?
So the vision with Masters Union is very clear, to be India's first entry into top 10 business schools of the world. Right now it's Wharton, Harvard, Stanford, Stern, Sloan, INSEAD, LBS, and we think we can be 9th in 5 years from now. And so that is the target. Now, if we have this lofty target, then we want to limit the number of students. So I don't think in our MBA program we will ever have more than 240 students. In our undergrad program, we will never have more than 1,000, 2,000 students. So I think we will cap it at 2,500 students, but we will try for the global ranking of top 10 business schools.
Amazing, and it's a 40 lakh product?
Yeah, it's the fees is around 40 lakhs per year.
I think it's worth it, Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Pratham Mittal, such great energy, great orator, great businessman. Thank you so much, Pratham.
Thank you so much.